Welcome to the final FPL podcast of 2024. I wish you all a happy new year and hopefully you're enjoying the holiday season. Today I'm going to discuss several players to buy, hold, sell and skip. There may be an additional one compared to the usual 11, and I'm going to categorize some of the most popular transfers in and out, as well as some differentials along the way. And if there are any other players you want discussed in future Trans Tips editions, then let me know down in the comment section below. Smash the like button of this video if you enjoy it, and subscribe to the channel. We're getting very close towards 31,000 subscribers. I believe we're less than 100 away, so that is our new goal for 2025, and then afterwards we'll push on towards even more targets across all social media platforms. You can check out my Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM. The links are in the description below, and you can also follow me on Blue Sky, FPL Dylan, and you can easily find me on all of those social media platforms. There's also my Discord server, the FPL League, a link to Draft Hound, as well as Spotify. Leave a 5-star review if you enjoy my content, and you can listen to it in audio format there. There is currently a 20% discount on Patreon too if you want early access to my videos, amongst many other perks. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. The first purchase I'm going to recommend is Milenkovic, and last week I discussed buying Aina. I think Nottingham Forest are quite clearly one of the best teams to invest in defensively, and having 2 or 3 of their assets overall is still viable. They are second in the Premier League table. They might have 1 game more played than Arsenal, but you have to give them massive credit. They're having a great season, and they're the only ones to have been Liverpool so far this season. And Milenkovic has more goal contributions than Aina, only the 1 goal contribution separating them, with Milenkovic getting an assist. And from set pieces, I think he's by far the biggest threat that Nottingham Forest have to offer. But Aina might be slightly better because of bonus points, and I think that maybe makes him worth the extra millions. But I think Milenkovic offers tremendous value, and at this moment in time, you've also got Nico Williams at 4.3 million, who started the last 5 Premier League games for Nottingham Forest. But I think it's worth going for 0.4 million more, and going for Milenkovic will get more goal contributions, and he's more nailed on in that Forest team. He's got 16 shots inside the box, which is terrific for a centre-back, and 77 FPL points. He's right up there with Trent, Gabriel and Aina as the top 4 defenders in FPL. It's a sea of red in terms of that category, and the upcoming fixtures are quite mixed bag, you could say. But Wolves away and Southampton at home over the next 3, and it will be a Wolves side without Matheus Cunha, as I'll discuss very soon. I think Milenkovic is a great purchase even from this point. If you look a bit further ahead, there are some tougher challenges for Nottingham Forest. I know Liverpool at home is going to be the toughest game they have remaining, but they've got maybe more consecutive bad fixtures later down the line. But Milenkovic can keep clean sheets in some of them and maybe produce an assist or a goal. Cody Gakpo started 7 consecutive games for Liverpool in the Premier League and 8 out of the last 9. Does this mean he's going to start every single game? Not necessarily. I think there will be some benchings along the way, and it could even be within the next 2 fixtures against Man United or Nottingham Forest. But I think he's the first choice left winger right now, and it's between Diaz and Diogo Jota for that striker spot. And Gakpo has scored some terrific goals recently, especially that one against Leicester, which was so crucial as Liverpool went behind in that game, and that equaliser kind of reassured them that they're going to go on to win the game. And Gakpo has that strike in him from outside the box. It's only 5 goals and 2 assists this season, but most of them have come in recent matches, and he's got 13 bonus points, which is more than the likes of Diaz and Diogo Jota. Gakpo also has 62 FPL points and a very low ownership of 5.8%. If you're looking to replace Jackson, Matheus Cunha, or you're just in the market for a forward, and this also helps you buy Trent at the back or make other upgrades, I think Gakpo is a nice differential to invest in. Just bear in mind, he is going to be benched from time to time, and if you can stomach those benchings, I think it's a worthwhile purchase. So Cody Gakpo is another buy. If I were investing in a Liverpool attacker right now to accompany Salah, it would be Luis Diaz, but not much separates him and Cody Gakpo, and it also depends on the alternatives in these respective positions. You could argue that Gakpo is a better option because with the current forward market, he might be a better purchase than Diaz, and also based on his recent form. But Diaz does have the underlying stats with 13 big chances. He's got 8 goals and 3 assists for the season, and he had that spell in the first 5 game weeks where he outscored Salah, and people were saying maybe we should invest in the Colombian, and that way we can have Erling Haaland and we don't need to have Salah in our team. So things have changed very quickly over the last couple of months, but I still think Diaz is a decent FPL option. But just like Maddison, the minutes will always be an issue, and he's not going to start every game. And even when he does, he could be subbed off early on certain occasions. Liverpool have that squad depth offensively with everyone back, it seems, in those positions. So expect to see a rotation between Gakpo, Diaz, Jota, Darwin Núñez. Salah's the only one who's nailed in that Liverpool attack and the only essential player that Liverpool have to offer. And I think Trent would be the second best asset overall, or maybe you go for another defender like Van Dijk, but I think Trent would be second in that list, and Diaz might be third or fourth overall. But he has 36 shots for the season, an XG figure of 5.02, and 23 key passes. Diaz is a good player, but also quite streaky. He can produce a big return, then blank in 4 or 5 consecutive games, and before that mega haul against Tottenham, he was blanking very regularly, so expect some inconsistency from Luis Diaz. And remember, before that Tottenham game, he didn't score a Premier League goal since September. But if you're in the market for a midfielder, especially at this price tag, I think Luis Diaz is worth considering. Morgan Rogers produced a double-digit haul against Brighton in that 2-2 draw, but he also picked up his 5th yellow card of the season. That means he's suspended for Gameweek 20 against Leicester City at home, but I still think he's worth holding on to, and at that price and below, he's by far the best midfielder in the game with the most consistency, and he's a talismanic figure for Aston Villa at this moment in time. Ollie Watkins would be another one if he can get consistent starts, but Duran will be back by Gameweek 21, so I'd rather invest in Morgan Rogers by that point, but certainly don't buy Rogers in now. A lot of people have done so already because he was getting the points against Brighton, but he picked up that 5th yellow card, and now he is suspended. That's 6 goals and 4 assists for the season, with an XGI figure of 6.44, which is decent for a 5.5 million midfielder, and he's got 88 points for the campaign. Other underlying stats include 28 key passes, 7 big chances, and 7 big chance created. I think Morgan Rogers is worth holding on to, and despite the likes of Semenyo, Kluivert, Enzo Fernandez, Jacob Murphy, and plenty others like Ismail Assar, I think Morgan Rogers remains the best budget midfielder. Phil Foden arguably had one of his worst performances of the last month or two against Leicester City, but produced one of his very few attacking returns this season, with 1 goal and 2 assists for the entire campaign. It was an FPL assist by tradition and by pure definition. I do like Phil Foden as a short-term punt, but you also look at Man City's fixtures around January and February, and they're very tough, not to mention their recent form, 2 wins out of the last 13 matches, and Foden hasn't been getting those goal contributions like he was in the previous campaign. He's got 28 key passes and 38 FPL points. He's not worth that money, but if you do have Phil Foden, I would be holding on to him. There are some reports and rumours about him suffering some underlying illness, and hopefully, if that is the case, he recovers very soon, but it does seem like there are a lot of complicated factors of Man City players, and that includes Phil Foden. And when you're looking at investment, it's very difficult to make that sort of case because the vast majority of them are so expensive. Even Gvardiol at the back, if you have him, you probably hold on to him, and Erling Haaland up front. But to make space for these players, especially Haaland, is going to be so difficult. But I think Phil Foden is a hold for those that have him. He is a mega differential, but if I'm looking to invest in a midfielder, I'd rather go for Anthony Gordon and Luis Diaz. Before Gameweek 19, I think we're all in agreement that Virgil van Dijk was offering better value for money than Trent Alexander-Arnold, but that 15-pointer by Trent will shift perceptions and he will be seen as the essential defender, so to speak. The only premium defenders I think that are higher than Virgil van Dijk in terms of the power rankings are Gabriel and Trent Alexander-Arnold, but you've also got Saliba, Jurrien Timber, and perhaps Gvardiol. I think they all make up the best premium defenders in the game, but Van Dijk would be third in my opinion, and he's worth holding on to in many scenarios. He has 1 goal and 1 assist this season, and only 1 booking, which is phenomenal for a centre-back, and the threshold for yellow cards will increase from 5 to 10 after Liverpool play their 19th game of the campaign against Man United at home. So Van Dijk has no risk of suspension unless he gets sent off. He is a very good long-term option, and he is still, for me, the biggest threat that Liverpool have from set pieces, although in recent set piece routines, he hasn't looked anywhere near as dangerous as he did around Gameweek 9 when he scored against Arsenal, for example, and Van Dijk has 74 FPL points for the season. You can find better value for money with Milenkovic or Aina, maybe even an Everton defender, especially with a potential double for Everton and Liverpool around Gameweek 24 or 25. But Van Dijk, for me, is still worth holding on to. But if you've got the extra funds, I would invest in Trent Alexander-Arnold for those attacking returns. My opinion on Raul Jimenez hasn't changed much, and over the next 3 game weeks, Fulham have excellent fixtures, and Jimenez got a very healthy return against Bournemouth, a 9-pointer, which was certainly very impressive. He's got 6 goals and 2 assists this season, very low ownership, and his price tag is so accessible at 5.5 million. 42 shots is also a great return for a budget striker, and 74 FPL points. So if you are building a wildcard team right now, or investing in a budget forward, I think Jimenez might be the best one on offer, but I still think the likes of Wood, Cunha, Jackson, Isak, and several others would offer better value and consistency over the long term, but you can't certainly deny that Jimenez at 5.5 million is very appealing, and he's probably Fulham's best attacker. It's just you have to stomach those occasional benchings you'll get, or at least those early substitutions, because if Fulham are chasing a game, Jimenez out for Manice is going to be on the cards more often than not. But Raul Jimenez is a hold. Would I be looking to invest in him right now? It really depends on the circumstances. If you're selling someone like Danny Welbeck, Strand Larsen, or Joao Pedro, and you can't go to Chris Wood, who for me is worth the extra millions, I think Jimenez is a decent alternative. On New Year's Eve, we got breaking news about Matheus Cunha. He has been handed a 2-game ban by the FA, but that also includes the FA Cup, so he's only missing one Premier League match, which certainly will be contentious, and rival relegation candidates will be fuming about this. But Cunha will miss the Nottingham Forest game in Gameweek 20, then he returns for Newcastle away, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, and you've got the likes of Liverpool, Bournemouth and Aston Villa shortly afterwards. I think Cunha is worth holding on to, and he's arguably the second best forward in the game, maybe even third, with Chris Wood also being right up there in the podium of the best strikers when you look at value and consistency. And Isak right now is in red hot form. He would be number one, but Cunha's fixtures might put him down a little bit in the power rankings for forwards, but I think he's worth holding on to. This is the best case scenario for Wolves. They'll be delighted with this result, and Matheus Cunha is a great FPL asset to hold in the long term. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I discussed selling Matheus Cunha once the ban came into place, but I thought the ban would be 3 to 5 matches. It's only 2, and that will be 1 Premier League match, so I think he has gotten away with it here, and he's got some decent underlying stats like 54 shots, 33 key passes, and 11 big chance created, but the XG, I mean, he's certainly overperformed that. It's only 3.68, and he's got 10 goals, but that's also the sign of a really good finisher, and this season he's really been on it. He's fixture proof, so even in some of these tougher games coming up, he can score, and the last time he was at Stamford Bridge, he got a hat-trick, so I wouldn't put anything past Matheus Cunha at this moment in time, and I think he's worth holding on to in many scenarios. Similar to Matheus Cunha, Jarrod Bowen is currently flagged because of an injury, and of course the Brazilian will have that turn into a red flag because of the suspension very soon, and he felt something during the Spurs game and asked to be subbed off because he couldn't sprint, but Vitor Pereira suggested he should be fine. But with Jarrod Bowen, I have a feeling he could be out for a longer period, and if he misses the next 1 to 3 matches, I think he's worth selling, but the lack of options in the midfield made me quite keen to hold on to Jarrod Bowen, like I discussed last week, but if he is injured and misses plenty of matches, I think that becomes a very easy sell, and West Ham's fixtures aren't great for quite some time actually, so you could move to Anthony Gordon or Luis Diaz. Maybe you go even cheaper with the likes of Morgan Rogers from Gameweek 21 onwards, but the options in the midfield are quite slim. There are no particular standouts besides the obvious Salahs and Palmers of the world, so with this Saka void, it's very difficult to find that consistent replacement. Bowen would be one of them, I guess, but at the same time, he doesn't get many bonus points, which is to his detriment. He's got 5 goals and 6 assists this season, and his XGI is very healthy at 8.84, and that's 90 FPL points for the season. So Jarrod Bowen is back for Gameweek 20 or 21. I would suggest holding on to him, but if the injury is serious and he misses those 2 matches and possibly the Crystal Palace game, I think it becomes very obvious that Jarrod Bowen is a sell. Around a month ago, I discussed holding Danny Welbeck because it looked like he was going to return to that Seagulls side, and they had some great fixtures coming up, but he has been missing 5 to 6 consecutive games, and he's been a massive loss for Brighton. I think he also gets the best out of Joao Pedro with that combination between the two, and he could be back fairly soon, and if that's the case and you've still got him, he might be worth holding on to, but you could sell Danny Welbeck to Chris Wood, and even if he returns, I think Wood is a massive upgrade. He's the talismanic figure for Nottingham Forest. He's got so many bonus points this season and multiple goals, so I think Wood would be the best budget forward to invest in, and Danny Welbeck might enter the equation fairly soon, but I think he's just worth selling at this point, and he has been for several weeks. It goes without saying. He's been a decent striker for Brighton this season though, with 6 goals and 2 assists, an XG figure of 5.21 and 69 FPL points. In fact, he was rivaling Chris Wood as the best budget forward in the game for the first 8 game weeks of the season, but things have certainly changed since that point, and I think Danny Welbeck is a sell. We are now onto the skip section, and Anthony Elanga does feature. There's a lot of investment in him because he's been getting so many returns in recent weeks and showing consistency, which is very hard to come by in this midfield position. And if you are looking for a budget midfielder at his price and below, he might be the best option because the alternatives would be Enzo Fernandez, Tyler Dibbling, and for me, Jacob Murphy would be the best one. But Anthony Elanga isn't a bad option. It's just the underlying stats aren't great. And with Nottingham Forest, I'd prioritise Chris Wood up front, and then the likes of Aina, Milenkovic, even Nico Williams or Matt Sells in goal. I wouldn't go for Elanga in terms of prioritising Nottingham Forest attackers per se. You've also got Gibbs White, who's a bonus points machine, but that's 4 consecutive returns for Anthony Elanga, and that's very impressive. I can't deny that. And if you want a 5.1 million midfielder, you could certainly do much worse than the Swedish winger. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists this season, with the vast majority of them coming in recent weeks, and Forest have won 5 consecutive games to push towards second in the Premier League table. They're having an outstanding campaign, and I think doubling or tripling up on them is certainly viable. Now, you would want to bench them against Liverpool at home, for example, but they are the only team in the Premier League to have beaten Liverpool this season. Now, Elanga has 10 shots on target, and he's got 3 goals, so it's just not really good reading in terms of the goal scoring, but the creativity is always there. He's got 62 FPL points for a reason, and 18 key passes. That's not even that great either. 3 big chance created and 5 big chances. I just don't think Elanga will sustain this level of performance in terms of goals and assists, and I'd rather invest in Morgan Rogers long term once he's back from suspension. You've also got Jacob Murphy. I was never a big fan of Enzo Fernandez or Kluivert, as I discussed in recent weeks, but I think there are alternatives at other price points. Even Ismail Assar would be a better acquisition, although he was very frustrating in Gameweek 19. So Anthony Elanga for me is a skip, but if you disagree, let me know down in the comment section below. The bonus player in today's podcast is Dominik Szoboszlai, who was talked about quite heavily after that 17-pointer against Tottenham Hotspur, but he got booked against Leicester City off the bench and then missed the West Ham game as a result, and he is now back from suspension. But if you are investing in a Liverpool midfielder, I'd be going for Diaz or Diogo Jota. Now, another one who's been showing great form is Curtis Jones, with some consistent returns over the last 5 game weeks and also a lot of starts in the recent months, but I don't think Szoboszlai or Curtis Jones are worth investment, and if you are tripling up on Liverpool, it would be Salah, Trent, and if you don't go for Trent, maybe Van Dijk is absolutely fine, and then I'd probably triple up with Diaz, or leave that slot for Arne Slot when you use the assistant manager chip around Gameweek 24 or 25 perhaps, when you can start to use that. And just remember, with the assistant manager chip, once you deploy it, you can't use any other chip for 3 game weeks whilst the assistant manager chip is active, and that's where it becomes part of your budget, and also with your transfers if you decide to change your manager. But I think Arne Slot around Gameweek 24 or 25, if Liverpool double, would certainly be worth playing that booster, and I just don't think Szoboszlai is worth that Liverpool spot. He will produce some big returns from time to time. He is a bonus points machine when he does score, but that's going to be very, very few and far between. He's got 2 goals for a reason. 5 assists is okay, but the expected assist is 2.74, so it's not like he's creating a huge volume of chances or high quality chances on a regular basis. But then again, I don't think Salah's expected assist figure is much higher, and he's leading the Premier League assist charts and also throughout Europe. But Szoboszlai has 60 FPL points. He isn't a terrible option, but I just think with the best team in the league, you need to be very conscious about the 3 Liverpool players you want to invest in, and if you want to use the assistant manager chip on Arne Slot. That wraps up the final transfer tips video of the calendar year, and also my final FPL podcast of 2024. It has been a blast making these videos and live streams for FPL, UCL Fantasy and the Euros, which I covered throughout the summer. On screen you can see the most transferred out players, and Matheus Cunha is top, with Jackson, Maddison, Saka and Amad Diallo in the top 5. I feel some people who sold Matheus Cunha might regret it because he's only missing 1 Premier League match, and I'm surprised by the outcome, and it took a long while to actually get that ban in place, which, to be fair, I did discuss for several weeks now, and we have seen previous with other suspensions dished out throughout the entire campaign. Thank you very much for watching this video and listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. I promise to get this to 200 likes and to keep on pushing towards new goals like 31,000 subscribers. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for my Patreon and the championships for early access to my videos, amongst many other perks, and there's currently a 20% discount on Patreon. There's also my Discord server, the FPL League, Draft Hound, as well as Spotify, and you can find me on Blue Sky by tapping FPL Dylan and across most social media platforms. I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 20 and the rest of the season, and I wish you a happy new year. Enjoy the holiday season and the football.